Your number one hype gal here, and welcome to the weekly warm-up, your weekly dose to feel a little more confident and a lot more human. I'm Jess McDowell, and each week I'll share life updates, mindset shifts, product faves, the little things that help me stay grounded, energized, and moving and grooving. Whether you're heading out for a jog, sipping your morning coffee, or just need a midweek pick-me-up, this is your warm-up for living a real balanced life. So take a breath, shake it out, and let's dive in. Welcome back to the Weekly Warm-Up Podcast. I have not been in the mood to record this today, and I will admit I left it to last minute. Life has just been busy as sin, I have to admit, and I had back-to-back races over the weekend. I'm feeling like I have post-race weekend depression that usually happens. Now I'm just getting moving and grooving. I did some really nice recovery yoga this morning just for Bolty to open up. She needed it. Now I feel really good. Like I'm back in action. I could go run if I wanted to right now. Humble brag. But yeah, no, motivation is it's there. It's there. I know I have things I got to get done, but that's about it, So I have great topics. Let's run it down, run it through. Let's run it. Wait. Well, I have a poopy bag in my shorts pocket that was crumpling. Cute from walking the dog. All right, let's dive in. I think it's really funny and ironic, and I did not plan this, but today we're talking a lot about women that are high-performing women and addiction to productivity and motivation, and here I am literally not in the mood. So this is perfect. Our first topic today is high-performing women and addiction to productivity. Why I wanted to start with this is because what do we think of ourselves when we're not being productive? When I'm not training, or when you're not doing something, or when you're not working, when you're not organizing or planning or achieving, leading, the drill. What I always think about is, what are you? What are we? What are me? Who are you when we're just still? Yikes. I know. I don't even want to think about it, because sitting still, just staring at the wall, I can do it, but a lot of things are going to be happening in my mind. I think it's just one of those things where high performing women, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to talk about it because we have a productivity that's not just habit, it's who our identity is. And that's where it becomes very uncomfortable to sit with and process that, there's a difference between being healthy ambition and then addicted to productivity. I am teetering on that fine line 100%. I like it how at first, being a high performing woman, a high performer in general as a woman, being very productive, being very driven, being very ambitious, that it starts off that you're mature, or that you're going places, or you're going after your goals, you're going after your dreams. It's a good thing at first, you're praised for it at first. And then achievement becomes associated with your worth. And it really is wild, because I now look at it like this: output becomes associated with worth. Your output becomes associated with your worth, your value, and who you are as a woman. And we need to take a break and reverse that. Sometimes, you look at it like, if I perform well, you're safe or financially safe, or if I achieve, I'm valued or I'm wanted, or if I produce, I matter, I am seen. And I struggle with that all the time, for sure. And then I look at it like productivity as an emotional regulation, obviously gives us dopamine. It's structure, it's control, it's validation. Structure and control is really big, because when we are feeling like something else is out of control, which we always have something that we feel that we're not in control of, or that we don't have structure in. So we gravitate and we cling on to the things that we can control and that we do have structure, but it's actually not really helping on a bigger scale. And then from there, it's that validation and having that dopamine, but eventually all of that wears off, because just like anything, we're humans. So we're constantly gravitating to the next high, to the next achievement, to the next purpose, or what I'm worth, or, in your relationships and your friendships and anything. And then you feel uncertain when we work harder, because we're working harder, but then it's like, why do I feel like I'm not whole? And a lot of it has to do with emotions. Really, it does. When our emotions are feeling overwhelming, we get busy. We don't allow ourselves to sit still and process. Now, I will say I am very good at compartmentalizing, taking time for self care when it comes to journaling, when it comes to processing whatever I'm going through, when it comes to regulating my body, when it comes to my training and my discipline, my, here we go, my work. Like now, but well, am I? Wait a second. That's really funny. I am good at understanding that I know my emotions are overwhelming and I know that I'm letting myself just be busy and just not suppressing it is what I'm trying to say. So when we're feeling lonely or we're feeling like we're missing something, we fill our schedule. So it's just busy work sometimes. And that movement, work, achievement, it's a distraction. And it's a distraction and it's a regulation from whatever it is that is going on inside you internally that you need to eventually process, that you need to eventually slow down, be still, stop, and feel unsafe for a moment so you can get that peace. Feel unsafe for a moment so you can regulate and figure out what it is that is making you feel this way. I would assume most people that are listening can relate to that on some level, regardless of what that circumstance is. We're all dealing with something where we distract from it, allowing ourselves to look in the mirror and say, okay, we're going to work on this. But I am proud of myself because I'm observant and I'm aware. It's one thing if you are not allowing yourself to feel that awareness, that you are literally just suppressing it, pushing it away. I won't deal with it. I don't need to deal with it. I'm just going to move on. And it builds up and it builds up over time. Or literally, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. It could be something not even closely related to what it is that you're suppressing. And you could be walking on the street and a leaf touches your shoulder, and all of a sudden it's a mental breakdown. You can't handle it anymore, and you're just a mess. And we can't get to that level. So being aware that you're avoiding something, or being aware that you're allowing yourself to fill up your schedule, or you're allowing yourself to be busy or be an overachiever or being too ambitious because there's something right there shows that you're actually stronger than you think you are. And I will say that's one thing that I really try to do as much as I can is to allow myself to be aware and to feel the emotions that are going to my body and using specific coping mechanisms. High performing does not mean career wise only. High performing is a term used for a woman that is constantly on the go, is feeling like she needs to take care of things, that she needs to be in control. Remember, we talked about that, needs to be not in charge, but needs to be in the driver's seat and feel like she is going places with whatever it is that she's doing in her life. It does not mean just career. And what ends up happening is we're in like this low state of fight or flight consistently. Hello, Welker. I don't know if the camera caught him or not. Oh, no, it's okay. We're in the middle of a therapy session, so go get your water. And this is separate from my performance rest, which is very interesting. So my performance and my recovery rest, I take a lot of pride in because my training and my running and that's part of my career. So I take that very seriously. So recovery and rest is even part of that high performing piece, which is funny. But I'm talking about rest where it's strategically built around you shutting off, you taking time for yourself, you not allowing yourself to do whatever the high performing tasks are. When I had my mom on the podcast, she was my first guest, shout out Care Bear. I had asked her a question about what is one thing that you could teach our generation, or that our generation, something in the lines of what is different. And she said something about being still, or that, I think it was stillness. Yeah, I think she said that, of just being still, and that we are not taught that anymore, that is out the window. Whereas when she was growing up, it was a lot of stillness, because total different times. So then that's why it's interesting to think about how our productivity is our comfort zone. Our stillness is when our nervous system is just stimulated and we are being the most ambitious, being the most busy one out there. So then here I am talking about it today, and it's true. We don't prioritize our stillness, and we have really conditioned ourselves to think that slowing down is laziness, slowing down is a threat, We are not in our comfort zone. Our comfort zone is productivity. To me, is I just hit a wall. It's massive burnout, hormonal disruption, emotional numbness. I am all over the place. Sleep is not real deep sleep. You wake up, you're just consistently tired. You're not in that creative state, or I'm not in that creative state that I normally am because the sleep isn't good, which immediately just skyrockets cortisol. So your anxiety is everywhere. And then from there, you're not in a great mood. It just, you know how it is. It's a domino effect. Then you start looking at how your worth is built on your output. So as you're in this burnout phase, you're now too afraid to slow down, or not too afraid to slow down, but you're freaking yourself out that, well, I can't, I can't slow down, or I have this to do. Taking one day, it's not going to be okay for me, because if I take one day, then I'm going to get backed up and I'm not going to have this done. That's not the case at all. And if your confidence is consistently built on achievement, what happens when we take that plateau? When does being high performing become ambition versus addiction? I will admit that, again, I think I'm on the level of addiction. Definitely. Ambitious, 100%. But addiction, absolutely. Ambition is desire, and we allow ourselves to rest. That, you don't collapse when you have rest, and you have really good boundaries. I have boundaries when it comes to my career. I have boundaries when it comes to my relationships. I have boundaries when it comes to my friendships. But do I have boundaries when it comes to my rest and my stillness from being a high performer? No, not at all. No. Mm-mm. I I talk to myself. I'll say, this day, we're doing nothing. I'm not working. I'm not reaching out to anyone, cleaning. I'm not running errands. I'm not getting this done. And what ends up happening? I do all of it. And then I just say that, oh, well, yeah, like I laid in bed for, an hour, and what was I doing now? Scrolling. Okay. Like, did I read a book? Did I journal? I'll journal. Yeah. But sometimes it doesn't even make sense to journal, because you're not even really feeling centered and focused and in a mindset of meditation, because you have just been beat bopping all around on your rest day. And then that's where the addiction comes in. You panic at stillness, you feel guilty when you're resting, and you're needing that constant validation. And when I'm saying validation, not validation from a person, it's you trying to validate yourself. So the moral of the story is that rest is not weakness, and you are not lazy for literally bed rotting one day. You are not lazy for deciding that maybe you want to do something light all day, something that you haven't done before. Maybe you want to sleep all day. Maybe you want to do a craft all day. And if you're slowing down and you're allowing yourself to do this, when you get back into action 24 hours later, again, we're not talking about 7 to 10 business days, you are going to feel lighter. You're going to feel more motivated. You're going to feel more driven. You're going to be proud of yourself. Stimulates the productivity because you're doing things and you're checking things off your list instead of procrastinating because you're so burnt out. You're not going to have as much anxiety. You're going to be more intentional with yourself. You're going to be more intentional with people. And that glow, you'll just see it. Being a high performing woman does not mean that you have to always show up for yourself 24/7. If anything, people will look up to you more, and people will respect you for allowing yourself to take that time. You know me, there's typically something that I will say that might make a few people uncomfortable, but it's for the best. Trust me. I am always out for everyone's best intentions. Trust me. Trust me. And especially when it comes to performance gaps and training. So let's do this, okay? Most training advice women follow was not designed for women. When it comes to training, we're going to have to set the guys aside for a second. It's built on male hormone patterns, male recovery cycles, male stress responses, and it was basically handed to everybody as universal. That is why majority of the time women question why things aren't working, and then either give up, or they get confused, think that it's not for you, or that it's your body. You're never going to be that way because it's your body. That's just how I was born. If I hear that one more time, gals, it's not just how you were born. I cannot stand that was implemented into people's minds, that the way you were born is the reason why you can't have the best performance, or you can't, and I don't want to say look a certain way because we're not trying to talk about looks only, but that you can't output on something or achieve something because of the fact of your body, of your genetics, of your physical being. No, 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 that's not true. Before Sally Cream Cheese says anything, I get it. I'm 5'11. I can't be a jockey. Correct. I'm too tall to be a jockey. But we're not talking about that. That's very, 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 very specific. I'm talking about the everyday woman being told that you're just born that way. So today, we are going to break that cycle, and I'm going to mentor you on the performance gap. And when I say performance gap, I'm not saying women are weaker. I'm saying our physiology is different. We have different hormones, we have different stress responses, we have different fuel utilization, we have different recovery timelines, and exercise science research has conducted primarily on men, meaning when they have done any type of focus study on the body and physical output and performance output, it typically has been performed on a man. And just like your school history books that are never updated, same thing goes for a lot of the performance articles, performance science backed research. I can't even tell you how many times when I'm learning and I'm either getting additional certifications or I'm doing continuing education, the videos that I'm watching or the seminars that I'm watching or the handouts, the PDFs that I'm reading of, past research. It's so outdated. It's unbelievable. You can even tell it's outdated just by the quality of the video, by what the people are wearing, by what they're saying. It truly is astonishing considering that today we are trying to biohack our lives. Health, fitness, wellness, nutrition, recovery. It's this big billion-trillion-dollar boom, but we have all this old research and science backed studies. It's backwards. It doesn't make sense. As women, we fluctuate. Men are consistent. Are they? But they really are, though. The male data is based off truly being stable across the month, where we have 24-hour hormonal cycles. I'm sorry, and a 28-day rhythm. And we're going to follow what study you did on a group of males. Makes sense. So then if we're talking about estrogen and progesterone, I would say if you're in a place right now to write these little tips and tricks down, do it. If you can't, save this and come back to it, because this will help you as we go on, but also help you through some of your training that you're going to be doing, through your training process that you have and that your training schedule that you have. But we're going to talk about the follicular phase. That's when estrogen rises and our energy is often higher, carb tolerance improves, our recovery from intensity is typically stronger. So meaning high performing training or your workout schedule, whatever it may be. Great, we have that. So then in the luteal phase, progesterone rises, which means we have resting metabolism increases, we have core temperature increases, which I cannot stand because I'm constantly sweating, and perceived exertion increases. So what this means is that you could be doing the same workout, the same training schedule week after week, but depending on the week, it's going to feel different. And instead of us being educated on that and having better resources, we're told to push through it, that we are just having an off day or we're needing to up our training because clearly we're not pushing hard enough. And what's happening then is we're pushing through something that's misaligned already. So then you're creating a stress load not only on your body. And how ironic is it that women are more sensitive to stress loads? Us? Really? No, not at all. I never get hangry or emotional or undereat or have shitty sleep or have work stress or life stress. Never. I'm even keel. I'm just like the dudes. I'm straight across the board. So when your stress levels start to stack up, then what's happening is our high intensity training spikes cortisol as well. When we have occasional cortisol spikes, that's fine. But when we start to have a problem is when we have cycle disruption or fat retention, typically in visceral fat, which is the lower abdominal area. We have sleep issues, or we can't recover fast enough, or we're not recovering properly. That's all burnout. And that's all a huge red flag. I find that the two that I always notice in women would be the cortisol. You can get the cortisol face where it's very puffy, you're feeling very swollen. That's because your body is basically protecting itself. Or, the fat retention, which is typically, like I said, in the abdominal area. Sometimes you'll see it in the armpits. And then obviously the cycle disruption that happens, but that's more for, like, for instance, with me, with my intense training and especially high endurance training, sports or schedule, that can happen. But you could get cycle disruptions where maybe you're not as regular, or your flow one month is completely different than the other month. So long story short, when we're following these high training patterns and high intensity models and recovery patterns that were built from a male perspective, then it's basically just being counterintuitive for us. That's long story short right there. One thing that is a huge misconception is just our fuel utilization, especially for women. We, ironically enough, and I've talked about this, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, women burn more fat at lower intensities. Yes, ladies, we can burn fat at lower intensities. Crazy, right? Because here we are thinking that we need to go out and become robots to burn fat when you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Slow it down. So, as women, we rely more on fat oxidization during aerobic efforts, which means, and I'm going to show you this in more of the energy system tiers so you can understand. So, we have ATP, which is basically it's phosphagen, and that is the shortest burst of energy output you could do. Typically, that is within seconds. That is plyometric weightlifting right there. And then from there, you go into glycolytic, which is basically your peak anaerobic. And that's typically up to 2 minutes tops. So sprinting, any type of 400-meter, fast anaerobic, 90% to max threshold. And then we get to fat oxidization or oxidative system, which basically is aerobic efforts. This is going up to 60 minutes or more of straight effort. I'm not going to stop it there. Well, I'll do the last one, which was then you're going into your protein. And that's typically if you're running, half marathons and marathons, where your body is then used up all the fat, used up all your carbs, and you're burning off your protein. But we won't go into that right now. What we're wanting to talk about is just so you can understand those stages. So fat oxidization is the sweet spot. And it's crazy how, as women, that's what we rely on. And we're not utilizing that enough, and we're not using that to our benefit. Where men rely more heavily on glycogen at the same time of intensity. And as we just learned, the glycolytic phase is the anaerobic stage, a burst of energy, burst of anaerobic, 90% max heart rate, up to 2 minutes. And that's where men are in. And glycogen means carbs. So again, men rely more heavily on the glycogen or the glycolytic stage system, and women rely more on the fat oxidization, so the oxidative system, which relies on fats and carbs. And this is what makes me so proud as women, is that we thrive on strong aerobic bases. We thrive on strategic intensity and not daily metabolic chaos. But we've been told to do fasted cardio, which I have done. It's horrible, though some training that I do is fasted. But what I'm saying is in general, we've been trained to do fasted cardio or back-to-back hit or low calorie, high output cycles. And we are simply just effing up our system entirely, where you're not only seeing negative results, or you're seeing results, but then you hit this massive plateau and there's nothing that you can do after that, or you're actually getting too good of results, if that makes sense, where you're losing too much muscle mass and you're not strong. You're not actually fit. Which I call also is like skinny fat. And I don't come for me for that, but that's what it is. Training differently actually means, and this is my sweet spot. This is where I thrive because, one, it's my profession, topics I love to discuss, what I love to consult on, what I love to mentor on, myself to train on, but also what I love training for other people. Basically, you're wanting to build realistic training, but it doesn't mean you're training less, and it doesn't mean it's going to become this intense, vigorous, too much to handle. I can't fit this in my schedule. This is unrealistic. If anything, it will become so routine and so perfectly fit into your schedule that you almost feel like I'm not doing enough, which is ironic because we were just talking about in the last subject about doing too much. All right, so this is what a line looks like. If you want to write it down or not, call me. Building a real aerobic foundation, timing high intensity strategically, fueling before long or hard efforts, adjusting intensity across the menstrual cycle. Again, yes, it might sound tedious, but it's truly not. And then respecting recovery windows, my sweet spot. It also means not using punishment as programming. And I shouldn't even say punishment really. Like it's just more or less like not using guilt. Again, going back to the high performing woman, not using your training schedule as a chore. That is one thing that, again, we have not been properly advised on or mentored on is that you're going to fluctuate, obviously, and you're going to have your good days and bad days, but allowing your training program to fit within those highs and lows and it not become something where if there's a certain day you have to skip, then you just reconfigure. You just switch it around. Not everything all goes downhill from there. Or if there's a day where you need to be more high intense this day instead of this day because you have this, or if you're going on vacation or you've got this going on, it's all about making it to where you're able to make small tweaks in your schedule and in your training schedule with your real life because we are humans, not robots, and it not be a disaster and it not turning into a punishment or you saying, well, now it's all ruined, so might as well stop it. Because that's what ends up happening. And that's more of like the psychology of, fitness and the psychology of continuation. I've talked about that before, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Here I am on a rant. I'm just like so into it. I love it. Okay, so going back to what we were actually talking about instead of squirreling about just training differently, but having training differently for who you are and what your life is, and that's what you can adapt to, but also that you don't need to earn the rest, which again goes back to being a high performing woman. But in this sense, we are talking about earning rest as in body physical. So when you train with who you are, your body, your physiology, AKA female, AKA me, Jess, not Sally Cream Cheese next to me, who's got different things happening that she needs to do, then what happens is when we're not training against it, your performance improves, but you actually start to enjoy it more. And you start to see the results that you deserve. And they are not only progressive, but they continue. But when you have gotten into that sweet spot of your training, and it's not just about consistency, but also your hormones change, you become more stable. Obviously, your menstrual cycles becomes more stable and you're understanding it. And that right there should be all the motivation you need. Truly, that right there should be it. Done, signed, sealed, delivered. Let's do it. I got your back. So long story short, you need to find someone like me who can help mentor you to get you into the best training cycle, training schedule of your life to where not only does it fit smoothly into your day to day, but also fits smoothly into your chaotic, unpredictable life. Simple as that. So, you know me, it wouldn't be an episode without talking about some sort of neuroscience, neurology, brain topic. And I saw this post recently from Dr. Longevity, and it is creatine and brain energy, what the science reveals. And if you know me, I love creatine. I take Primal Harvest creatine every day, sometimes twice a day. It is my holy grail. It works. It doesn't bulk. There's always going to be side effects to anything you take, but Primal Harvest creatine is by far the best creatine I have had. It doesn't make me feel bloated. It does not make me feel like I'm retaining water because you're retaining water if you're not drinking enough water, period. Anyways, if you do want to get some Primal Harvest creatine, though, you can use my code, which is my full name, Jess Rose McDowell, and that's a plug. All right. Creatine and brain energy, what the science reveals. Creatine is a fundamental component of human energy metabolism. Creatine is one of the most studied compounds for muscle performance. Its role in strength, power output, and recovery is well established. But there is one aspect that is discussed far less. Oh, my ring light just went out. Oh well. The very same energy system creatine supports in muscles is also active in the brain. Yes, we want that. Creatine is a natural energy molecule used by the brain. Creatine is produced by the body and stored in the brain, where it supports rapid ATP regeneration during high energy demand. And we learned about ATP, remember? Yes, in the energy systems. In the brain, creatine functions as a phosphocreatine energy buffer, helping maintain neuronal function during metabolic stress, mental fatigue, and aging. So again, the brain consumes 20% of the body's total energy. Holy shnikes, I did not know that. Neurons have minimal energy reserves and rely on rapid ATP regeneration to maintain. I should go over ATP one time in a podcast so people can understand that. ATP is energy, we discussed. Neuronal firing, synaptic transition, cognitive performance. Creatine supports this by acting as a rapid energy buffer, stabilizing ATP availability when demand suddenly increases. Brain ATP demand increases with stress, sleep deprivation, sustained mental effort, aging-related mitochondrial decline. We also talked about this recently, or just now. During these states, energy demand rises faster than supply, increasing resilience on rapid ATP buffering systems. During these states, energy demand rises faster than supply, increasing reliance on rapid ATP buffering systems. This is when bioenergetic support becomes critical. What human data shows? Human research shows that creatine is actively involved in cerebral bioenergetics. Brain creatine availability has been linked to improved resilience to mental fatigue, support during sleep deprivation and stress, preserved bioenergetic capacity with aging. It reflects measured effects on brain energy metabolism. Key insights from human data. In human studies, creatine's cognitive effects appear mainly under conditions of mental fatigue, sleep deprivation, or high cognitive demand, not a baseline. In these studies, creatine is typically administered at 3 to 5 grams per day, typical, without loading. Creatine is not just a muscle supplement, it is a core energy molecule involved in both muscle and brain function. Dude, that's sick. I love that. So that's another reason why you should probably take creatine. I'm so glad I found this, and I'll share it. I always like to do that when I find these. I'll share it when the episode is live, because that way you can read off of it and, take notes, whatever you want to do. So yeah, pretty cool. Let's take our creatine together, guys. I think that we need to take a big deep breath right now. I might even get some of my Palo Santo out. Maybe I'll do that. And just Palo Santo us really quickly, because this final topic of the episode, which also lands on Lunar New Year, February 17th, 2026, Tuesday, pretty ironic. Also 17 being my favorite number just means so much to me. And we are going to talk about 2026. The Lunar New Year zodiac is a 12-year cycle where each year is represented by an animal. Based on the lunar calendar, your sign is believed to shape your personality, compatibility, and fortune. The 12 animal signs: rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, pig. So they all have some sort of meaning behind them. So for instance, 2025 was the year of the snake, which meant wise. Okay. Each year also rotates through 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. A specific combination like 2026 fire horse occurs only once every 6 decades, blending the animal's spirit with the element's unique energy. And horse represents energetic. Okay. The reason why I'm reading all this is I know nothing about the Lunar New Year with any of the years of any of the animals. I know nothing about zodiac or horoscopes, though I really love it because I believe in energy. I believe in a higher power. I believe that not only God and Jesus are a higher power, but so is the universe and energy. And that is how us as humans are connected and how we communicate and how we go about our whole entire life. I really, truly believe that. What does this auspicious year represent? The 2026 year of the fire horse brings tidal wave of transformation, speed, and unbridled passion. This is not a year for standing still. It is a year for leaping. Well, where's the cliff? The combination of the horse's restless spirit and the fire's element intensity creates a powerful yang energy that demands radical authenticity and bold action. For all of us, 2026 is an invitation to break free from old cycles, reclaim our independence, and move at the speed of our own soul's evolution. I mean, I just feel like 2026 is going to be my year. Absolutely. How ironic is it that it's the year of the horse, which I just find to be energetic? Well, not I find, hold on. So, year of the horse is energetic. I find that I can relate to horse and the energy and energetic so much. The fact that it's on February 17th, which is my favorite number. It is also ironically, it happens that my podcast comes out on that day on a Tuesday, which that's really not much into it. But what I'm saying is, this is my year. Okay, let us move on. So, the final day of the wood snake year, which is Monday, February 16th. It's the final day of the wood snake year. Snake year wasn't easy, it wasn't comfortable. If this year felt heavy, slow, or emotionally intense, that's because shedding isn't gentle. The snake doesn't rush transformation, it strips away illusions. This isn't the time to rush ahead, it's the time to let things finish. The snake year was never gentle. It stripped away what wasn't real, it forced endings you didn't plan for, it made you sit with truths you couldn't ignore. Now, in these final days, the work is simple. Release what you've been carrying out of habit. Stop trying to revive what your soul already outgrew. Let closure happen without forcing clarity. If things feel quieter, slower, or emotional, that's not stagnation. That's completion. The snake closes cycles so the next chapter has room to arrive. And what comes next will move fast. For now, honor the ending, rest, exhale, leave the weight here. The fire horse is almost here. So, if you want to take a second to take a deep breath and let everything out, and just know that you made it, you're strong, you're capable, you're healthy, you're worthy. Whatever did not serve you last year is gone. Whatever you are not a reflection of any type of failures. You're not a reflection of what people that are not for you say. You are capable of so much in your lifetime, no matter where you are at, no matter how old you are, no matter what stage of life you're in. You are in control, and let this last little bit of shedding be a realization of all the things that you're capable of and what you deserve. And you don't have to stay in the same position that you've been in, and you don't have to stay in the same relationships that aren't serving you, friendships that aren't serving you. You deserve happiness. Welcome. I guess I should just say this right now, like, congratulations, welcome. We made it to the year of the horse, because today is February 17th, Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Congratulations. Happy Lunar New Year. I cannot wait to see what you do. I cannot wait to see what happens this year. This is going to be the best year yet. I am so proud of you. I believe in you. I know that you're going to do all the things that you set your mind to. And in February 17th, 2026 brings the year of Fire Horse. And after the intense shedding of the snake, everything begins to move again. The snake stripped away what wasn't real. The snake year brought endings, clarity, truth, and emotional release. The energy of the horse year is fast, forward moving, and full of breakthroughs. This is a year where opportunities open suddenly, where your confidence rises and your path becomes clearer. The horse year pushes you to trust your instincts and take bold steps. No more holding back. No more shrinking yourself. The seeds you planted during the chaos and cleansing of snake year will begin to show real growth. Get ready. The horse is carrying you into a new year of movement, power, and possibility. Be ready. So 2026 horse year is all about playing small. Universal year one, the beginning of a brand new 9 year cycle. Horse year asks you to stop waiting for permission, to stop second guessing what you already know, to stop shrinking yourself to fit spaces you've outgrown. The fire horse moves fast, boldly, and instinctively. It rewards courage over comfort, action over hesitation, truth over fear. This is the year you initiate, the year you choose yourself, the year you move when the door opens instead of wondering if you're ready. No more playing small, no more half decisions, no more holding back. Horse year is about momentum, confidence, and new beginnings. And the only question is, are you ready to move with it? And that's that.